Coming up on this episode of Poker Jesus. Our opponent snap calls and flips over the ace-4, 3-3, double suited in clubs and diamonds. We're in fantastic shape playing for stacks with close to 73% equity here. Hello, I'm Anthony, and we've made it to episode 10. This is a really special one for me. First, I want to do some shout-outs to viewers. Deuce X over at the Poker Chip Forum, thank you so much. He made some custom graphics for my sponsor video of this episode. They're hilarious, and I'm sure the viewers are going to love them. I'd like to thank Francis Okonkwo, who commented that I may have the best PLO content out there. Keep up the good work. That means a lot. Thank you so much. There's a number of vloggers out there doing PLO content as well, so I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm trying, and you may you may think differently about my skill after some of the hands in this episode, but I do appreciate the comment. Sadistic Kitten asked, how is your wife so awesome? Well, my wife is actually the one who encouraged me to quit my job a couple of years ago to play poker. I had been managing a trucking company for about 3 years, and I was working 70 hours a week. I was coming home exhausted, angry. It was affecting our marriage, and I was burnt out. And she said, go play poker. And here we are. So, we've been together over 20 years now, so I couldn't have done it without her support. Ace Deuce 86 asked if there's more bluffing in PLO versus Hold'em. And, it's an interesting question. There are some people who bluff like crazy in PLO. They probably shouldn't. It's a game that's far more nutted than No Limit Hold'em is. So I think there's less opportunities for bluffing in PLO versus Hold'em. But that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities for bluffing. Obviously, the naked ace bluff is popular. Spots where you just read a situation, you read someone's hand, and you bluff a scare card. But it really depends on the players you're up against. I mean, they need to be capable of folding, and some people aren't. And you'll see in this episode, sometimes I'm not either. So you really need to bluff the right people, and you need to have the right type of image as well to accomplish it. But there's definitely bluffing opportunities, but I think comparing it to Hold'em, probably not as many, or at least in theory, you shouldn't be bluffing as much, because if you don't have the nuts and you aren't drawing to the nuts, someone else probably does. And now I've got to mention viewer Kerdavin, who said that my lookalike was the legendary Wayne Knight. I didn't think it could get worse than Paul Blart Mall Cop, but here we are. If anyone needs me, I'll be in therapy for the next few years. Okay, one last mention here. A gentleman by the name of Asshole, that is his screen name. He does play in the club that I'm in. And last Monday, he noticed, he mentioned in the chat that he had come across my vlog. He liked it, and he was hoping to stack me so that he could get in the vlog. That sparked a bunch of conversation between other people in the chat as well, and so I'm sure some of them have been checking it out, and they were saying that I should vlog that session that I played on Monday. Normally I'm a few weeks behind, so the content you're seeing is from weeks ago, but I'm making an exception this week for the Monday episode. I'm going to eat some crow on this one and, put the content out there and live and die by my decisions. Asshole did want me to use everyone's real names. I don't want to do that, but I did add some colorful names to the mix this time, so hopefully everyone appreciates them. You do have to realize that each hand, a player, let's say, I'm representing Asshole in multiple hands, right? This guy, Asshole. The names are going to change each hand, potentially. So in one hand, Asshole may be represented by Handjob Joe. And in the next hand, he may be Bitch Tit Sally. So it's not really tying anyone, those colorful names aren't tied to any particular player specifically. It's just kind of how they were plugged in, so don't read anything into that. But anyway, with that said, we've got a lot of hands this episode. I've crammed more hands in than any previous episode. There's a lot of action. There's many four-figure pots, so let's jump into it. Six-handed, we're playing 5-10, sitting on $555 in the small blind. With three limpers to us, we look down at the 7-6-5 deuce, suited in clubs to our 6. With multiple limpers, it's likely there's a decent amount of Broadway or middle cards out, so I'm okay with limping along as our hand is likely live, and the flop could favor us. The big blind checks his option, and the flop comes out 6-4 deuce rainbow. We flop top and bottom pair, which is usually a recipe for disaster in PLO. But you have to consider board textures here. This flop is rarely going to hit most of the hands people play, especially when you consider we have cards in our hand that smash this board, making it less likely it helped our opponents. So with not only top and bottom pair, but the open-ended straight draw, we lead out for the full pot of $50. Surprisingly, one of the limpers does call. The turn is the 8 of clubs, improving us to the nut straight and giving us a club flush redraw. Again, we lead for the full pot, and our opponent shoves for close to $400, which we call. He reveals the 8-7-5-3 double suited in diamonds and hearts, and so we actually had us in bad shape on the flop, having flopped the nut straight. On the flop, we were only 24% to win, our opponent was 55%, and we had around 21% to tie. However, on the turn when all the money goes in, we are free-rolling our opponent. We'll win roughly 33% of the time, as we can make a full house or a flush, while our opponent can't improve his hand to beat us, so the best he can hope for is to tie around 67% of the time. The river is the 5 of spades, and we chop it up. We're playing 5-10 6-handed, sitting on a stack of 470. There's a couple of folds, and the cutoff raises to 35. On the button, we look down at the 10-9-7-7, suited in clubs to our 10. Our hand is connected enough and our pair high enough that we can withstand one raise here, and we wind up making the call. Both blinds come along as well. The flop comes down ace-queen-7 with 2 clubs. It checks to the cutoff, who bets $105, and with bottom set plus the flush draw and a backdoor straight draw, we feel confident enough to get our stack in. If we're running into the cooler and our opponent has a higher set, we should at least have clubs as outs. Our opponent snap calls and flips over the ace-4-3-3, double suited in clubs and diamonds. We're in fantastic shape playing for stacks with close to 73% equity here, but unfortunately our opponent only runs once, and the turn comes the 8 of clubs. He's pulled ahead, and our equities have flipped, with him now roughly the 73% favorite. We need to pair the board, or hit the straight flush to pull out the win here. Unfortunately, the 4 of hearts isn't going to do it, and we get stacked. We're 7-handed at 5-10, sitting on a little over 600 in the small blind. There are multiple limpers, and we look down at the raggedy Queen-9-8 deuce with no suits. This is a shit-tastic hand, and out of position against a large field. Shit, none of that really matters. This is just a clear fold regardless, but we somehow convince ourselves to put in the extra 5, because maybe we'll flop huge and get paid off. We go 6 ways to a rainbow flop of King-Jack-10, giving us the second nut straight. The problem here is that we can't improve our hand. This is the best it's going to get. With no way to improve, we check, and it checks around under the gun +1, who bets the full pot of $60. Given that we could already be drawing dead if our opponent holds ace-queen, we decide to just let this one go, rather than play a guessing game and pray we're ahead. This is why you avoid playing shitty hands, because they flop shitty and put you in shitty spots like this. 7-handed, there's one limper to us in the hijack, and we look down at the King-Queen-Queen-6 suited in hearts to our king. The 6 absolutely kills our hand, but the suitedness of our king, the pair of queens, and the connectivity between the king and queen make this marginally playable if we can get in cheap. We limp along and go 6 ways to a Queen-9-5 2-club flop. When it checks to us, we are not slow playing the cart nuts of top set. This board is extremely wet with flush and straight draws to worry about, so we lead right out for a full pot of $60. Both a cutoff and a player in middle position make the call. That's somewhat good, as there is hope they are blocking one another from their draws. However, when the turn comes the jack of hearts and old bitch tit Sally bets pot of $240, we're in a pickle. It's doubtful our opponent is betting full pot here into 2 players while out of position on that turn without having the goods. I don't see them betting a turn top 2 pair as a bluff. We only have 442 left in our stack, but the problem here is our equity. If our opponent has the nut straight, they're 75% equity favorite over our hand with 1 card to come. So we need to put our money in bad and hope for the board to pair. It seems the correct decision here is to fold, which is what we do. But fuckface McDougan in the cutoff decides on a $348 stack to just call $240, leaving himself $108 behind? What the fuck are you doing, fuckface McDougan? What the fuck are you doing? Well, at least we get to see the river. Motherfucker. It pairs the board coming the 5 of hearts, the middle position player bets 480, and the cutoff folds. And we make what I still believe was a good fold, only to see we would have won a nice pot if we were a worse player.
Oh, that's not my pot!
8-handed, playing 5-10, and Walter No Dick raises from early position to $35. It folds us on the button holding King, Jack 7 with 3 spades. On a shorter stack of $428, I'm fine with this hand if you want to repot and get stacks in. If we were deeper stacked, I'd recommend just calling. However, I do wind up just calling as we are on the button and we don't have to get our stack in to avoid any positional disadvantage. Both the small blind and big blind call, and we go 4 ways to a flop of King Jack 4 with 2 diamonds. When it checks to us, we have top set, but we block ourselves from pairing the board because we do hold a jack. We also block our opponents from the cooler of having hit middle set. Still, we do have the cart nuts, and this board is wet with flush and straight draws. So we pot for $140. You aren't going to see a turn for free on my watch, motherfuckers. Dick knows McGillicuddy, and the big blind makes the call. The pot is now $420.
420, blaze it.
And we only have 253 remaining. The turn is the 9 of hearts, and our opponent bets the full pot. If our opponent has what he's representing, the Queen 10 for the nuts straight, we are roughly 23% equity.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
So we aren't getting the right price to continue. However, with only 25 big blinds remaining in our stack, and the slight possibility our opponent has 2 pair plus a flush draw combo, I decide to stick it in.
Oh my.
Our opponent turns over the Queen 10 4 deuce suited in clubs to the Queen. Why not? On the flop, we were a 68% equity favorite, and this nitwit decided to call a pot-sized bet out of position, chasing just an open-ended straight draw on a flush draw flop, and they get rewarded with the perfect turn card. We agree to run it twice, but I'm in rough shape. Because our opponent holds a 4 in his hand, he's blocking us for filling up as well. So he's an 80% equity favorite now. I'm only showing one run out because you know how PLO goes. We lose both of them.
I'm going to pull your endocrine system out of your body.
Go for Poker Jesus. Well, yes, I could always use more money. I was actually thinking about selling feet pics. Joey the Mush is selling mush merchandise? Get the fuck out of here. Wait, you're serious? Okay, let's roll the clip.
All right, guys, joeythemush.com is live. This is where you're going to go get all your merch. I got new hats I'm going to show you in a second. I think if you look at it on a mobile device and you want to buy something, there's an Apple Pay selection. It's not working. The t-shirts are just mock-ups. I do not have the actual t-shirts yet. I should get them in 4 to 5 days. She just sent me the mock-ups, so I put those on the website just so I could launch this thing. Yeah, that's about it. Here are the new hats. This is the new Mush logo, the spade with the M. So I got a couple versions, and I got a new rived snapback trucker. Trucker hat. Showing up a bitch. Anyway, if you like this and you want to buy some, go to the website, please. And thank you very much for your time and your generosity. Bye.
Who the fuck would pay money to wear a mush hat? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. What do you mean he bought Twitter from Elon? Holy shit. If people are sad enough to spend that kind of money on Joey the Mush merchandise, just imagine the kind of money I could make. And now a word from our sponsor. Have you been in a poker rut lately? Don't know what's missing? Poker Jesus branded merchandise. That's what. Have you ever stared into the black pits of a poker dealer's eyes? Those demons do not have souls. They don't. It's a proven fact. So how can you protect yourself from their voodoo witch doctor bullshit every river? With Poker Jesus 100% Jewish bathwater. Just sprinkle it on the felt right before every river card to ward away the evil. Impress the ladies and make all the fellas jealous with your own one-size-fits-most Poker Jesus banana hammock. You're gonna love my nuts. The Poker Jesus Banana Hammock sells for $999.99. But if you call now, within the next 20 minutes, you know we can't do this all day. You're going to get the Poker Jesus 100% Jewish bathwater absolutely free. Operators are standing by. Call now. We're 8-handed playing 5-10, and after getting crushed on our $600 minimum buy-ins, we decide to ramp shit up and have rebought for the max of $3K. There's a few limpers to us, and in the small blind holding 10-10, 6-6 suited in spades, we make the call. We go 5 ways to a flop of ace-6-5 rainbow. With no pre-flop raise, our set of sixes rates to be the best hand most of the time, and we don't want anyone hitting us straight on the turn for free, so we bet the full pot of $50. Under the Gun makes the call, and then Steve raises to $250.
Tell him, Steve Dave. Fuck you, fanboy.
It folds around to us, and I check my notes on Steve. I see that in the past he's limp repotted with pocket aces before. Given that this flop is relatively dry and I have middle set locked up, I'm concerned he's got me drawing to 1 out or runner spades in this spot. I just don't see a ton of other holdings he can have where he's committing himself here. He generally plays pretty solid, so I don't think he's going nuts with a wrap like 8-7-4-3, or even playing that from early position. I also don't think he'd be going nuts with bottom set here, and it's hard for him to have top 2 pair because there's only 1-6 remaining in the deck. I decide to let this one go. The player under the gun folds and flashes ace-9 offsuit, making it less likely that Steve had pocket aces. Steve later claims he flopped top 2 pair plus an open-ended straight draw, which would be a hand that would make sense for him to raise. We wind up rabbit hunting and the board would have paired with the ace, so I guess I made the wrong fold at the right time on this one, but man, it is becoming frustrating flopping sets and getting destroyed anyways.
Oh my God. I am never going to financially recover from this.
Back down to 7-handed at 5-10, we're in the hijack with ace, jack, 8-6 double suited in hearts and spades after 1 limper. This hand has nice coordination between the suits and straight cards. It's not amazing, but still it's playable, and we come along for $10. The button also calls, and then Dick Nose McGillicuddy raises to $60 from the small blind, because everyone knows bloating pots out of position against a field of players who don't like folding is a great strategy. We go 4 ways to a flop of 9-7 deuce rainbow, and it checks to us. We flopped an open-ended straight draw plus 2 backdoor flush draws. This board is likely not good for our opponents, but instead of taking advantage of this like we should, we freeze up. Perhaps because we've been getting crushed all session, and we just check. Fuckface McDougan on the button seizes the opportunity and bets the full pot of $250. Bitch Tit Sally in the hijack makes the call, and it's back on us. Not wanting to just chase an 8-out open-ended straight draw and backdoor flush draws, we let it go. Naturally, the turn is the 5 of spades, because why shouldn't we be punished for making bad decisions?
Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit. Block that cock motherfucking piece of shit. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you in your ass. How about that? Fuck you in your ass. Eat some of that, piece of shit. Come fucking step to me and say that and I will knock you the fuck out. How about that? Huh? I'm not fucking around. I will break your fucking teeth if you come step to me. And I will feed them to you anally. How about that? How about that?
Now Bitch Tit Sally pots it for $750, and Fuckface McDougan gets his stack in. Bitch Tit Sally shows up with the 8-6-6-4 suited in diamonds, having turned the nut straight. Fuckface McDougan reveals the Jack 4 deuce rainbow. Yes, both these players limp those shitty hands. That's just how fucking good these games are. And if I wasn't such a bitch and had actually bet the flop, I could have won a nice pot. Because the river comes the 10 of spades, and I would have went from a chop with Sally to scooping them both for stacks. We've filled back up to the $3,000 max buy-in. Some players have left, and we're now 6-handed. Under the gun limps in, and it's folded us in the small blind with Jack 9-9-7 and 3 clubs. We complete, and the big blind checks. The flop is King Jack Jack with 2 diamonds. We've flopped 3 jacks, and we should have the best hand a decent amount of the time here, but we could be drawing virtually dead, and we do opt to check. It checks around. The turn is the 7 of hearts. This is either the best or worst card we could see, as we've now filled up, but we would still be drawing dead if one of our opponents has King Jack here. We bet the full pot of 30, and get a call from the under the gun limper. The river is the 8 of spades, and we decide to check it over. If our opponent had us beat, we'll lose less because we have to call here. And if our opponent missed a draw, we might get them to bluff at it and pick up some additional money. Our opponent does bet the full pot of 90, and we get some good news as he turns over Ace King 7-7, having turned the K7 to get coolered and to make a smaller full house against us. Still six-handed, there's a few limpers, and then Burt Knucklefuck raises to $55. The button calls, and in the small blind holding Ace 877 double-suited in hearts and clubs, we have a playable hand, and we make the call. Burt gets no respect.
I mean, that's the story of my life. No respect. I don't get no respect at all. Are you kidding? No respect at all.
As the entire field comes along, we go 6 ways to a flop of 9-5-4 with 2 hearts and 1 spade. We flop the nut flush draw and a gut shot straight draw. We block the nut straight draws, and this board is unlikely to have hit our opponents very hard given how hard it's hit us. The only real concern being that we could run into a set of 9. But we've gotten gun shy from being crushed all session. Instead of betting pot here like we fucking should, we check. It checks around, and the turn is the 10 of diamonds. Now we've improved to an open-ended straight draw to go with our nut flush, but someone could easily have top 2 pair on this board or a higher straight draw, so we opt to exercise pot control and we check. Dick Nose McGillicuddy is under the gun and bets $220, and then fucking Steve raises to $990. It folds to us and we decide we're not done making mistakes today. At a minimum, our opponent who raised is going to have top 2 pair. He could have a set, he could have either of those hands plus a straight draw, or blockers to the straight as well. Just giving him a hand like Ace Jack 10-9 means we only have a 35% equity in the spot. But we're upset that we've been losing all session, and we're upset we didn't bet the flop, and we decide to just rip it in. No gamble, no future, even though Steve is never folding here. Steve shows down King 10-10-5 for top set, and we are under 33% equity in the spot. We agree to run twice, but I'm only showing one board because you know we're going to lose both. Now what really sucks is that Dick Nose McGillicuddy, who bet the turn for $220, reveals he folded the 9-5-4 of clubs. So he had flopped all 3 pair, he didn't bet it on the flop. If I had bet the flop, I likely would have gotten stacks in against him, and he only had around $800. But Steve had $2,800. Steve never gets to the turn if I bet the flop, so I royally fucked up on the flop and I made an even bigger mistake on the turn, just trying to gamble because I was still drawing to the nuts, hoping to win a big pot and put the hurt on someone. I became the gambly opponent I usually am trying to take advantage of this session, and I paid a huge price for it.
You're an idiot. And I'm going to explain why you're an idiot, sir. I'm going to explain why you're an idiot so that your family will know you're an idiot. Your friends will know you're an idiot. Everybody here will know you're an idiot. 10 million people in the United States will know you're an idiot. And probably 100 million people throughout the world will know you played it like a wise guy. And I don't like when people play like wise guys in my court because this is my playpen.
Sometimes I'm an idiot.
Still six-handed, we limp in the hijack, holding Ace King 9-4 suited in hearts to our ace. It's an okay hand. The 9 hurts it a lot as it doesn't work with any of the other cards. Fuckface McDougan in the cutoff raises to 45, and we go 4 ways to an Ace King 6 rainbow flop. When it checks over to us, we lead for the full pot of $185. We don't want to see any additional Broadway cards hit to complete the straights. Fuckface McDougan isn't having it, raising to $555. It folds back to us, and we are positively flustered at this point. The session has been an unmitigated disaster, and once again we see what looks like a good flop, and we're getting raised. At a bare minimum, our opponent who raised pre-flop is going to show us another ace-king here, possibly free-rolling us with a straight or backdoor flushes, and that's at a minimum. But given they raise pre-flop, even though we block it, we could be running into a set of aces or kings here, which would be catastrophic. But instead of cutting our losses, we say fuck it, and we rip it in. Sure enough, our opponent wasn't fucking around, and shows us the King-King-10 deuce. So now we have 13% equity to hit either an ace or a miracle runner-runner flush. Our opponent takes a smart play to run it twice, since it'll be hard for him to lose both. Shit, it'll be hard for us to win once. And again, I'll only show one run out because we lose both and we get stacked, bringing our total loss this session to $5,000.
I declare bankruptcy!
Well, that was a fucking roller coaster, wasn't it? You know, I ran really bad early to start. I was flopping sets and just getting outdrawn left and right. But midway through the session, I did all the damage to myself. I would say at least half of the $5,000 that I lost was just bad play, just bad decisions, just allowing myself to, you know, get gun shy in spots and spew. And so I turned into the people I want to play against, and I did that one to myself. So now there was a guy who made a comment when I was playing that I had folded a wrap for $200, and I didn't fold a wrap. I folded an open-ended straight draw on the 9-7 flop when I had the 8-6. And while I would have won the hand in the end because I would have turned the nuts with the redraw to the spades and I would have gotten there and stacked two of my opponents, I've got 8 outs on the flop. You know, unless I go runner for spades or something, if I don't make my straight. And, you know, someone's betting the full pot and there's a caller. So some of my outs could be gone. I'm just chasing an 8-out draw. I think my fold is fine there. He's calling it a wrap. That's not a wrap. A wrap is when you have way more than 8 outs, when you can hit a lot more cards than just at the top and at the bottom. He then started trying to Jedi mind trick me after I had left, typing in the chat, "Oh, you play poker for a living. Why don't you play more?" Yeah, I do play poker for a living. When I play poker, other people make a living, evidenced by this session. But no, I'm not going to be goaded by someone making stupid comments like that, trying to get me to play when I'm playing bad, when I'm making bad decisions, and when I'm losing. You know, I have a limit, and I hit 5,000, and that was it. I was done. I should have left earlier, and I didn't. So, you know, people making comments like that, you know, trying to, you know, be all macho or something and get me to, "Oh, I'm going to take all your money." I don't give a fuck. You know, tomorrow's another day. It's another session. Some of these guys, they go $10, $20, $30,000 fucking deep in a session. I can't afford that. You know, that's way over my head. And if they want to lose that much money, good on them. But that is way beyond my tolerance at this time. So anyway, you know, it's okay. It's okay to cut the losses. It's okay to admit you fucked up, which I did many times this session. And, you know, tomorrow's another day. It's another session. You just got to wipe the slate clean and come back and try to learn from the mistakes and not make them again, or limit them and make them less. Anyway, that's going to be a wrap for this session. Let me know in the comments down below if you like the colorful nicknames that I had for everyone, if you want to see those in the future, or if you want me to just go back to the way I had been doing it before. And we will see you in the next episode. And now a word from Vanessa K. Polk, semi-unretired heads-up legal expert.
You know, after watching a video like this, sometimes I'll like it, sometimes I'll leave a comment, and sometimes I'll subscribe. Sometimes I'll even do all three.